Welcome to Empowered Heart to Heart, where you'll hear messages of hope, conversations that heal, and interviews that empower.
Well, hey, this is Rhonda Simmons, and I am the founder and CEO of the Simmons Empowerment Foundation, as well as Rhonda L. Simmons, LLC. And I am so excited. Yes, I know. I say that every time. You'll just have to get used to it. It's a part of who I am. It's great to be alive, and it's great to wake up for a purpose and know why you're here. And I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Empowered Heart to Heart. You will hear messages of hope, conversations that heal, and interviews that empower. And today is no exception because I do have an empowering interviewee today. And we're going to get right into the interview in just a moment because I want to tell you, if you're watching us on our YouTube channel, make sure you like, comment, and share this video. Also subscribe so that you can be notified every single time a new video is posted. I have been working hard interviewing guests and really ramping it up for 2024. My word for this year is launch. And so we are launching out into the deep, so to speak, and we are just interviewing great people from all over the globe. And so you don't want to miss anything. If you need to reach out to us, make sure you do that on all of our social media platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. And our handle is TSEFIORG. It's going across the screen. You'll be able to reach us at any of those platforms. And so I'm so excited today because our special guest uh, is 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 phenomenal. And the reason why I say that is because here we are, the first month of the year, where everyone has these New Year's resolutions, and it is the 13th of the month right now. So, are you still doing the resolution? Mm. Anyway, she's going to help us get past that because sometimes we have these grand ideas with no plan for execution. And we've got to have a plan. We've got to know what we're doing. And most of the time, our resolutions center around our health. I know mine do. And our guest today is a certified holistic health and life coach. I'm excited because she helps teen girls and women find freedom from their struggles with food and dieting, and she empowers them to overcome emotional eating and self-image issues. I'm telling you, our guest today is the person you want to talk to. And so I am so glad that Melissa is here with us, and let's just bring her right in. Melissa, I don't want to mispronounce your last name.
Rohlfs rhymes with golfs.
Rohlfs. Okay, got it.
You're good.
Melissa. Okay, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to our show. I am anxious to talk to you today. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. So thank you for having me, Rhonda.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, Melissa, the coaching field, as you know, is so wide and it's ever growing, and you can coach on any topic your heart desires. Why did you choose the particular niche that you did?
Oh, I love this question because of my own journey. Like, I started using food when I was 8 years old, Rhonda. I was an overwhelmed, anxious, stressed out kid who had some trauma happening in the house. And I learned at a very young age to use food to help me cope or stuff or numb or try to push down the feelings that as a child I didn't know how to handle. And so that behavior continued throughout middle school, high school, into college, getting married and having kids. And finally, I found freedom from that. And so I want to help other women who are where I was, who maybe used food to feel better or have tried dieting and have just had all of these struggles with food for all of their life, and they want to find freedom from that. So that's why I do what I do.
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing. So, with this long journey that you've been on since childhood, what was the turning point for you?
Mm, Great question. So I was diagnosed with PTSD from childhood trauma. As a new mom, we had a newborn son who was not sleeping through the night, so I was exhausted. We had a 2.5-year-old daughter at the time who had some undiagnosed food allergies and sensory processing disorder. My husband was traveling for work, so I was very overwhelmed. And on top of that, I had gotten diagnosed with the PTSD from childhood trauma. So that journey led me to meet with obviously my therapist who diagnosed me, but also a holistic doctor who did some lab testing of my vitamin and mineral levels, discovered that everything was not in a good place because I was living off of fat-free foods and candy and sugar to try to get through the days and have energy. And so that really opened my eyes to the impact of food on overall health and energy. And I think so many times we associate food with weight, but there's so much more to it than that. And so that really helped me understand what food's purpose is and what the goal is, and that my relationship with it maybe needed tweaked. So that was kind of my breaking point.
Wow, that is amazing. While you were talking, I was thinking about so many different experiences I've had. But one of the things that you said is that this issue was a result of childhood trauma.
Mhm.
So how impactful, and I don't even think that's the right word, but how impactful is trauma on your lives in other areas that don't seem to be related?
It is so incredibly impactful. There's two books I would recommend. One is The Body Keeps the Score, and the other is The Body Remembers. And they talk about how we store trauma in our bodies. And so we might not be aware that we're carrying it because maybe we've done the therapy or we've done the coaching or we've done the mental work around that, but we haven't acknowledged where the trauma is stored in the body. And so that trauma gets stored in our body and it can trigger us. We have muscle memory. And so trauma is incredibly impactful. And that's why I love the holistic approach to healing it, because yes, the mindset work is important, but the body work is just as important as well.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. One of the things you mentioned in your bio was about helping teenage girls and
Mhm.
women overcome body image issues.
Mhm.
How prevalent is that?
Oh my gosh, it's so prevalent. And I think it's also almost getting worse. Like I remember being a teenage girl and having like the 17 magazine and Elle and all these magazines that were trying to tell us, this is what beauty looks like. This is what you should look like at your age. This is what's attractive. And now we've gotten away from the magazines and we're into social media. So we've got Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and all of these places feeding us with this messaging unconsciously of what we should look like and what we need to look like and what beauty is. And I just think it's so prevalent, and I don't know that it's worse today, but I do think the social media is exacerbating it.
I would definitely agree with that. But on the flip side, Melissa, in the whole quest of body acceptance,
Mhm.
I'm not a size 2
Yes.
or a size 6.
Mhm.
Um, and so, in that whole quest to accept ourselves for who we are, do you think that that mentality sometimes goes too far because we're not taking care of our health?
I don't know. I think it's such a good question because I feel like diet society is so damaging and it tells us all of these things. And I think what is hard for me with that, Rhonda, is that I think and believe that we have everything we need inside of us. We are made a certain way. We are made a certain size. If you are a Christian, the verse that you were knit together in your mother's womb, like that, there is some validity to that. And so I think that we were born a certain way. We have a certain destiny. And I think that we maybe get unaligned from that because we are listening to diet culture and we don't know how to listen to our bodies. We don't know how to listen to what we need. We don't know how to nourish ourselves. We're getting all these messages saying low fat, high fat, keto, low carb, no carb. And it's all of this messaging that just causes confusion. And so we don't know how to listen to ourselves and we don't know how to care for ourselves. And so I think the emphasis is more on weight than it is on health. And I think that's where it gets a little bit risky, is that we do these things to lose weight, but we don't look at how that is going to impact our health. And so I think if we focus on health and nourishing ourselves and our relationship with food, that I love that approach because it's not focusing on being a certain size or being a certain number on the scale, but really honoring the way that your body's made and respecting that.
Wonderful. That is wonderful. Since you mentioned the Bible and faith and everything, and I am a Christian too, so that just kind of opened up another question.
Mhm.
How did your faith play a role in your turning point?
Yeah, I love this question because I feel like there was such a disconnect for me for so long because, as a Christian, we are taught like you pray and you ask God for things and you read the Bible. And I was doing all of that, but I wasn't seeing anything happen. And I think you get to a point where you're like, okay, I have prayed about this and nothing is happening. Like, come on, Lord, do something. And so I think for me, really, it was taking that action and taking that step, which then led me to look at the Bible. And every time there's a healing, action is required. Like when the woman who'd been bleeding for several years, what did she have to do? She had to touch Jesus's robe. The man who was blind had to pick up his mat and walk. Like there is always faith, and healing requires action. And so I think for me, learning how to implement that and do more than just pray and read the Bible and really step out in faith was kind of the big step for me, and where the faith came in. Because like I said, I had prayed about it, I had read, I had done all the right things, but I wasn't necessarily maybe doing my part in taking that action to do the work.
Wonderful, wonderful. And what you just said resonates so much with me because I'm a firm believer in faith without works is dead.
Yes.
You can't have one without the other. You can, but is that really faith?
Right,
And
right.
so I love the action part that you put to it. Um, so many people want change. They want
Mhm.
to have a different life, but they're not willing to do what is required of
Mhm.
them to get that change. And so that is so wonderful. Um, wow, wow, what an amazing life. So here's my question: how did you know when you were healed enough
Mhm.
from your childhood trauma
Mhm.
and from your eating
Mhm.
disorder to help someone else?
Yeah, I remember hearing Shalene Johnson. She is a business coach, professional development guru, kind of. And I remember she said something that stuck with me. And she was like, speak from a scar, not a wound. And so I knew when I could start sharing pieces of my story, I could write a post on social media and have comments not trigger me, not affect me, not cause me to downward spiral. I felt like I was like, okay, this is not the wound anymore. This is now the scar, and I can speak from that and I can help other people. And I think it's knowing what triggers you and kind of being aware of like how you respond to certain things. And so I think the more I've healed, the easier it's been to do that. And so I think it's just, continuing on my healing journey and then inviting other people to come along.
Wow, that is fantastic. How long have you been coaching?
I have been coaching. I got certified. I have to look at my certification on the wall here, 2018.
Wonderful. That is fantastic. That is fantastic. So, I'm so impressed with how you're helping so many women. What you may not know is my nonprofit organization is geared towards unwed teen moms. And
Mm,
so when I saw your application, I thought, yes, we need to get her on the show and just have her to talk to us. And I'm just so excited about what you're doing. Um, and so I understand you have a book out.
I sure do. It's called Finding Freedom, and it kind
Mhm.
of walks through my journey of where I was and the healing steps and the processes and things that people can do. Because, like, I felt like the other thing that really frustrated me on my journey, Rhonda, was that it was like there were all of these things that were so cost intensive. And so the book, I love it because it's low cost. It lays out the steps that people can take to get started on their journey. And I just want it to be a great resource in people's hands.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. The book is on Amazon, and the link is on the screen for those watching on YouTube. It'll also be in the description for both the YouTube channel and the podcast because people can get your book. They need to read and find out what they need to do to find freedom, and that freedom is available.
Mhm.
Um, how limiting was it for you, Melissa, to break the cycle of this is what I've always done?
It was hard. I mean, and I think it's really interesting now having teenage kids of my own. Like I'm constantly like, okay, am I doing this because this is what I know and what I came from, or is this how I want to do it? And so I think, as children, all we know is what we know and what we came from. And so I think it's so easy for us to think that's how everybody does it. And then we get older and we make friends and we start to talk about things and we're like, oh, your family doesn't do it like that. Okay, well, this is how my family does it. And then I think as we grow and evolve and change, we kind of get to choose what we feel is best for us and what God is asking us to do. And so I think it's just really kind of acknowledging like, okay, this is what I came from. Doesn't mean I have to continue or stay in that, nor do I want to, nor do I want that for my family. But it's hard because that's all you know. That's like everything you know as a whole person growing up. So it was not exactly easy.
No doubt, no doubt about that. So I have just a few more questions.
Yeah.
So knowing what you know now, what would you tell the 8-year-old you?
Gosh, that I have never been asked that before. Let me think on that because I have to go back to being that 8-year-old girl in my room. I think I would tell her, this is what I think I would tell her. I would tell her that whatever you are feeling is okay. It's not right or wrong. Feel all of the feelings, get them out. And if you're hungry, eat something, but don't just eat to like try to make yourself feel better because it doesn't really work. And you are doing the best that you can with what you have, but there is another way that will serve you better in the long run.
Absolutely, absolutely. And now that you're at this place that you are today, what would you tell your future self, maybe 5 or 10 years down the road?
Gosh. You were asking some really good questions.
You're a really great interviewee.
Thank you. Gosh, I think I would say kudos to you for using your story to make a difference. You know, I think so many times people have this journey or they have this transformation or they have this amazing thing happen to them and then they get stuck in fear or shame or they're worried what people will think and so they don't share it. And you're kind of depriving the world of your greatness when you do that. So I guess I would tell myself, good job for being bold and resilient and continuing to go forward, even though everybody didn't like you and maybe said some not nice things and you lost some friends along the way, but good job for making your message and helping other people.
Wonderful. That is fantastic. I'm just so thrilled because I can so relate to your journey and to the process that you've committed to. Um, I love how you're doing something to help so many different people. And you know what's going through my head right now, actually, Melissa, um, would be 2 words, and I'm about to do a workshop at the end of the month about this theme, but the 2 words are systematic and systemic. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is because systematic has to do with, just fixing a small part of a bigger thing, as opposed to systemic change means that you're changing an entire organization or organism or an entire entity. And what you've done sounds like you've gone through a systemic change and where your whole life has changed and it started with your mindset. And I applaud you. I wish I had my applause sound going, but I applaud you. And and so, what would you tell someone watching or listening to this episode who may be struggling and for a lifetime with food and their weight and their own self-image? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I would tell them that they matter, that they're worth taking care of, and really discern whose voice you're listening to because it's so easy to get caught up in what everything else is saying, what everybody else is saying. And I think really the greatest change comes when we go within and we get quiet and we ask ourselves. And if you're a Christian, asking the Lord, like, what do you have for me? What do I need to do here? And really kind of going within instead of seeking out that external validation. I think we really want to outsource so much, but this is something that can only come from within. So I want them to know that hope is possible, healing is possible, change is possible. You are not stuck. God is for you. And just know that you matter and you're worth taking care of.
Oh my goodness. Melissa, this has been so good and so rich. I really appreciate you being on the show today and for sharing such words of wisdom and healing. because that's what
Mhm.
the show is all about, providing those interviews that empower, and those conversations that heal, and and a message of hope. And you seem to
Mhm.
have done all three things in just a short amount of time. And thank you for being on the show. And I really appreciate you today.
Thank you. I love the conversation. I think we could do this for days.
Yes, yes, absolutely. We will probably have you back because health is always an issue. And it's
Mhm.
always something that it seems like people are always struggling with in some form or fashion. And, you know, people sometimes focus on one area of their lives and
Mhm.
let other things go. And we need more coaches like you to help keep us balanced.
Thank you.
So if you will just hang out just for a
Yeah.
moment, I will be right back with you. And thanks again for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, what an awesome, awesome interview with Miss Melissa Rohlfs. She is wonderful. If you're looking for a health coach, a holistic health coach, reach out to her because she is an amazing, amazing person. She's faith based, but she's also human based. I gather from everything that she said that she's willing to work with people who hurt, people who have issues. That fits all of us, right? And so if you're struggling with self-image, with food addictions or dieting addictions, talk to Melissa. She can help you walk through that journey with you, and she can provide some insights. Make sure you also get a copy of her book, Finding Freedom. I'll put the Amazon link up again, and it's in the description as well. Make sure that you get a copy of her book. It's on Amazon. As they say, leaders are readers. So you want to read, you want to get this book, whether it's paperback or audio, get the book and get the knowledge and the help that you need so that you can stop struggling with dieting and self image because there's help and hope for you today. And so until the next time, be blessed, be encouraged, but most of all, be empowered. And I'll see you on the next edition of Empowered Heart to Heart.